Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at the newest expansion for Eldritch Horror, one of my favorite games. It is the Cities in Ruin expansion. It's a small box expansion. Let's see how many times I can say the word expansion in this expansion review of the expansion. Now, because it's a small box expansion, it only has one Ancient One and 4 characters, although the first small box expansion only had no characters, so we're definitely improving steadily. This one features the Ancient One Should Mel do what? I don't know how to say his name. But Should Mel is all about disasters, and that's a new mechanism in the game. And also Devastation, which is the redheaded stepchild of disasters. And those are all really, really bad. On top of that, it adds a lot of new cards for existing elements of the game. New epic monsters, prelude cards, yada, yada, yada. Let me go ahead and show you what comes in this expansion just briefly. Then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think. Cities in Ruin is the newest small box expansion for Eldritch Horror and requires that game to play. It can also be used in conjunction with the other Eldritch Horror expansions. Let's jump right into it. There are 4 new investigators for your Eldritch games, but they will be recognizable to those familiar with the wider Arkhamverse of games. Ashcan Pete has his faithful hound Duke, and like a real hobo can travel quickly on trains and find items in the trash. Bob Jenkins is a salesman that is adept at trading items and getting you discounts on new items. Rita Young is an athlete who can gain talents easily and shrug off debilitating illnesses easier than other characters, and Roland Banks excels at utilizing and gaining service cards. There is one new Ancient One, Should Mel. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Complete with his own mystery cards, research encounters, and special encounters. Though his Doom track starts high, his cultists accelerate Doom if left alone. If awakened, you'll have to defeat Should himself in the form of an epic monster. Should also introduces 2 new game mechanisms. At the start of the game, Rome is devastated. Devastation tokens get placed on areas of the board that have become lifeless craters. Clues cannot spawn or be moved onto these spaces. They do not count as a type of area anymore, and you cannot have regular encounters there. Rather, you have to have special devastation encounters, which are complex encounters that may require multiple checks. If all 9 major cities on the board are devastated, you lose. Also, at certain points on the Doom track, Eldritch tokens are placed that can trigger another new game mechanism, Disasters. When this or another new game feature triggers a disaster, you'll draw a disaster card and resolve it. These are always bad, of course. They can harm the player's health and sanity, force you to lose resources, and even devastate cities. Along with the brand new stuff, there are more cards for each of the existing decks, flavored around the new Ancient One and the new mechanisms of disasters and devastation. There are Mythos cards, new major city encounters, conditions, spells, artifacts, and assets. There are also unique asset cards and prelude cards, 2 types of cards that were introduced in other expansions. Preludes will adjust the setup of the game, giving you penalties or bonuses along with some thematic filler. You can draw one randomly or choose which one you want to play with. Lastly, there are new monster tokens and epic monster tokens, including the spawn of Should Mel and the big guy himself. That is the Cities in Ruins expansion for Eldritch Horror. By the way, I have to say one of the side fringe benefits of this channel is mispronouncing words and watching people lose their shit in the comments. And it's even better when it's fictitious made-up words. It wasn't even, sometimes not even me, like I saw someone else getting ripped to shreds because they mispronounced Relaya or whatever, the city where Cthulhu sleeps. And I'm like, really? You're giving him shit over a thing that doesn't even exist and how he pronounces it? And then if you go look at either of the Naruto game reviews that I did for the deck building game and the board game, people are taking me to task like, it's Akatsuki or whatever. Anyways, I digress. So I don't really care that I can't pronounce Should Mel. It's actually very funny to me. He actually sounds like a rapper like Suge Knight. Or Ashcan Pete also sounds like a rapper. Maybe that's what they were going for thematically. Anyways, I like this expansion a lot, if we'll just cut to the chase. I would say that this is the best of the small box expansions, and it's hard to compare this to the 3, I think, big box expansions that we've had, because those have so much stuff and change the game so dramatically with their extra boards. But for simplicity's sake, which is sort of an underrated concept in board gaming nowadays, I think I would, much prefer to use the stuff from this set over the extravagances of the bigger box expansions. It's just the fact that I really, really enjoy the concepts of the devastation and the disasters. Now, it has the same problem that any of this stuff added to Eldritch Horror has, which is that, do you need to add more cards to this game and more tokens? Well, the answer on the face of it is no, but what else are you going to do? At a certain point, it does get to be a little redundant, just adding more of the same. Variety is fantastic, and that is the major issue that this game had right after its release. As soon as I played the original base game of Eldritch Horror like 3 or 4 times, I'm like, okay, I need more of this stuff. It could be the same stuff, but I need more of it. Well, now that's not a problem, especially if you've been keeping up with the expansions. But you do need to add some more wrinkles so that the games don't feel samey. And now I think that's what, for this set, especially, Devastation and Disaster cards are really adding to the mix. And it's hard. In my opinion, this is the Ancient One himself, or itself, Should Knight, is not overly difficult, because the Doom track starts pretty high, and I always, maybe this is wrong-headed thinking, maybe we've just been lucky. Any of the mysteries, or any of the ancient ones that end with, if they awaken and you just have to defeat their actual avatar monster on the board, don't seem to be as difficult as some of the other ones in the game that are more like a sudden death type. They awaken and everything goes to shit, and you have to hurry up and solve the last mystery card or whatever. But the problem is those disasters and devastation, which are, there are other things in the expansion that can bring those things out. But Should Knight can do it pretty easily just by moving down the Doom track. Disaster cards are going to come out. Rome starts off as devastated, so you've already got your backs against the wall. But thematically, and as far as rising tension and adding tension into the game, it just really worked for us. So I really appreciated that. I like the new characters too. I mean, there's a couple of characters. Okay, I'll say I like 50% of the characters, and the other 50% are, which is 2, are just okay. But I'm an Ashcan fan because I played with Ash. If you don't know, these characters float around between the Arkham games, right? So I know Ashcan Pete from, I know him personally and well, from the original Mansions of Madness. I don't remember if he's been introduced to the new Mansions of Madness yet. Probably. Maybe at least one of the expansions. But I love that character, and they really hoboed him up for this, where he travels easily on the train tracks and can he finds them in the garbage. Like a real American. And then you've got, I love the athlete, Rita Young, who, or I know it's Rita, I think it's Young, who can shrug off illnesses more, because that, to me, that is my personal pet peeve negative aspect of this game. Well, I mean, it's purposefully negative, but when you get debilitating effects, if you don't get rid of them quick, they can really screw up your game. Rita does her absolute best to make sure you don't get them in the first place. So I really like those types of characters. That's actually been a theme with me, because I think one of my other favorite characters from a different expansion, I can't remember her name, was a doctor. There's actually 2 different doctors, one for mental conditions and one for physical conditions, to help you get rid of them. So those are my favorite types of characters. There's more prelude cards, which I think have always been a fun addition with the other expansions. More cards for all the other sets. Monsters. I'll be honest with you, I think the monster tokens are the least interesting aspect of Eldritch Horror. They're just a thing that you have to deal with. They've never been as fascinating because they're not meant to be. They're tokens. They're not fleshed out the way that monsters in other games are. The Ancient One is fleshed out, not the Spawn and stuff necessarily. But again, more variety, more stuff for you to do. There are some great items, like the Gatling gun, which is a lot of fun. I had the privilege and honor of using that in one of the games that I played. And some really cool artifacts as well. And a lot of just, I always love the themes and the storyline bits that are put on all the new encounter cards. And they're all themed around the new Ancient One and the disasters and devastation that he or it or she can cause. Maybe it is, it does have Spawn. So I should try to be inclusive here. So yeah, it's a good expansion. There's not a ton to it. It's not as expansive as an expansion as some of the other big box ones, but still might recommend it first. Weirdly enough, that's how much I like it. Really enjoyed my time with it. And these are the kinds of cool elements, because even though it is adding more stuff that you have to keep track of, it doesn't bog down the game the way that, say, the extra board expansions do. As fun as those can be, they're a big pain in the ass. This one slides, these new stuff just slides right into the game as is. So really enjoy it. That is the Cities and Ruins expansions for one of my favorite games, Eldritch Horror. Therefore, your mileage might vary, but for me, it was great. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.